My beloved child, stop for a moment. Before you scroll away, before another thought pulls at your attention, before the noise of the world steals this moment from you, listen carefully to what I am about to say. This is not an ordinary message. This is not a random video. And this is not a coincidence. You may think you simply clicked on these words, but I tell you the truth. I saw this moment long before you arrived here. I knew the exact day, the exact hour, and the exact condition of your heart when you would hear this message. You have been asking questions that nobody else knows about. Questions you never spoke out loud. Questions you carried into sleepless nights. Questions hidden behind your smile. You have wondered if I still hear your prayers. You have wondered if I still see your struggles. You have wondered if the promises I placed in your heart were real, or if they would remain forever out of reach. My child, I have heard every word. I have seen every tear. I have watched every battle. And today I am breaking through the silence to remind you of something you desperately need to remember. I have not forgotten you, not for a single moment, even when the days felt long, even when the answers did not come, even when the doors remained closed, even when the people you trusted walked away, even when your faith felt weak. I was there. I was working. I was preparing something you could not yet see. That is why I need your full attention right now. Because what I am about to reveal is connected to the very thing you have been praying about, the burden you have carried, the breakthrough you have waited for, the answer you thought was delayed. My child, something is changing. Perhaps you cannot see it yet. Perhaps nothing around you looks different. Perhaps the circumstances still appear the same. But heaven is not measuring your situation by what your eyes can see. While you have been looking at the natural, I have been moving in the unseen. While you have been waiting, I have been preparing. While you have been questioning, I have been arranging. And now the season that seemed endless is beginning to shift. Listen carefully. There is a reason the pressure has been so intense lately. There is a reason the attacks seem stronger. There is a reason you felt as if everything was trying to distract you, discourage you, and convince you to give up. The enemy wanted you to quit before you discovered what I was doing. He wanted you to walk away before the breakthrough arrived. He wanted you to believe that nothing was happening. But he was wrong. Because even now, things are moving in your favor. Even now, doors are being positioned. Even now, prayers are being answered. Even now, I am working behind scenes you cannot yet see. This is why you must stay with me. Do not let doubt pull you away. Do not let fear steal this moment. Do not allow the voices of discouragement to speak louder than my voice. For what I am about to show you will explain why the struggle was necessary, why the waiting was not wasted, and why your story is not ending the way you feared it would. My beloved child, today is not ordinary. This moment is not ordinary, and what is coming next may change the way you see everything you have been through. So draw closer. Open your heart. Silence every distraction. Because the word you have been waiting for is finally here. My beloved child, there is something I need you to understand before we go any further. Nothing you have been through escaped my attention. Not one tear, not one prayer, not one moment of pain. I saw the battle you never told anyone about. I saw the struggle hidden behind your smile. I saw the nights when you lay awake staring into the darkness, wondering how much longer you could keep going. There were moments when you felt completely alone. Moments when you wanted someone to understand what was happening inside you, but the words would not come. So you carried the burden silently. You smiled when people asked if you were okay. You said everything was fine. You kept showing up. You kept moving forward. But deep inside, your heart was exhausted. I saw it all. I saw the disappointment you tried to hide. I saw the prayers that seemed unanswered. I saw the tears you wiped away before anyone could notice. I saw the questions that echoed through your mind. Lord, where are you? Why is this taking so long? Have you forgotten me? My child, I heard every one of those questions, and I was not offended by them. I understood the pain behind them. I understood the weariness. I understood the confusion. You were never weak for asking. You were simply hurting. There were days when you felt as though everyone else was moving forward while you remained stuck in the same place. You watched doors open for others while yours remained closed. You watched prayers get answered for others while yours seemed delayed. You watched people celebrate blessings while you struggled just to hold on to hope. And little by little, discouragement began whispering to your heart. It told you that maybe your time would never come. Maybe your breakthrough would never arrive. Maybe your story would never change. But those whispers were lies. Because while you were measuring your life by what you could see, I was working in places you could not see. While you focused on what had not happened yet, I was preparing what was about to happen. While you worried about the closed door in front of you, I was creating a better path beyond it. My child, the hardest battles are often the ones nobody knows about. The battles of the mind, the battles of disappointment, the battles of waiting, the battles of believing when there is no evidence. Those were the battles you fought, and I watched every single one. I saw you choose faith when fear felt stronger. I saw you keep praying when nothing appeared to change. I saw you continue believing when everything around you suggested you should quit. You thought nobody noticed, but heaven noticed. I noticed. Every act of faith mattered. Every step of obedience mattered. Every moment you refused to give up mattered. Even when your faith felt small. Even when your prayers felt weak. Even when all you could do was whisper my name through tears. I was listening. I was near. I was holding you together when you felt like you were falling apart. My beloved child, there were times when you thought the struggle was destroying you. But what if I told you that the struggle was revealing your strength? What if I told you that the pressure was producing something inside you that comfort never could? What if I told you that every difficult season has been preparing you for a moment that is now drawing near? Because the truth is this: the battle was never proof that I abandoned you. The battle was proof that your story was still being written. The tears were not evidence of my absence. They were evidence that you were still fighting. And the fact that you are listening to these words right now is proof that I carried you farther than you ever thought possible. You survived days you thought would break you. You endured seasons you thought would never end. You stood back up after disappointments that should have destroyed your confidence. And through it all, I remained beside you, closer than your next breath, stronger than every storm, faithful through every moment. So, before you continue, I want you to stop and remember this truth. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. I have seen every hidden battle. I have counted every tear. And what I am about to do next will prove that none of it was wasted. My beloved child, there is something I need you to see differently today. For a long time you have looked back on certain moments in your life and called them delays. You called them setbacks. You called them disappointments. You called them missed opportunities. You looked at closed doors and wondered why I did not open them. You looked at broken plans and questioned why I allowed them to fall apart. You looked at seasons of waiting and assumed that nothing was happening. But what if I told you that what you called delay was actually protection? What if the very thing you were asking me to remove was the very thing that was keeping you safe? My child, there were doors you desperately wanted opened. You prayed, you hoped, you waited, yet they remained shut. At the time it felt like rejection. It felt like disappointment. It felt like silence. But I could see what was behind those doors. I could see what you could not. I could see the pain they would have brought. I could see the distractions they would have created. I could see how they would have pulled you away from the purpose I prepared for you. So I said no. Not because I wanted to hurt you. Not because I was ignoring you. But because I loved you too much to give you something that would eventually wound you. There were relationships you wanted to keep. People you begged me not to remove. Connections you fought to preserve. Yet somehow they drifted away. Some walked away without explanation. Some betrayed your trust. Some left scars that took years to heal. You wondered why I allowed it. You questioned why people you loved could disappear from your life. But I tell you now, not everyone who leaves is a loss. Sometimes what leaves is making room for what is coming. Sometimes I remove what no longer belongs in your future. Sometimes I separate you from what is familiar so I can lead you into what is greater. You saw abandonment. I saw redirection. You saw heartbreak. I saw protection. You saw an ending. I saw a beginning. My beloved child, there were blessings you prayed for that I intentionally delayed. Not because I was withholding good things from you, but because you were still becoming the person who could carry them. A blessing received too early can become a burden. A door opened too soon can become a trap. A responsibility given before preparation can become destruction. I knew the timing. I knew the process. I knew exactly what needed to happen before the promise could safely arrive. That is why I asked you to wait. Not because I forgot, not because I was distant, but because I was preparing your character, preparing your heart, preparing your faith, preparing circumstances beyond your sight. While you were counting days, I was arranging details. While you were questioning my timing, I was protecting your future. While you were growing frustrated, heaven was carefully positioning everything for the moment that was meant for you. Do not mistake waiting for abandonment. Do not mistake silence for absence. Do not mistake preparation for punishment. I was never working against you. I was working for you. Even when you could not understand it. Even when nothing seemed to make sense. Even when your prayers appeared unanswered. My child, one day you will look back and thank me for the doors I did not open. You will thank me for the plans that failed. You will thank me for the delays that frustrated you. You will thank me for the waiting seasons that stretched your faith, because you will finally see what I saw all along. You will see how many dangers you avoided. You will see how many mistakes you escaped. You will see how many disappointments were actually acts of mercy. And you will realize that my love was protecting you even when my hand seemed hidden. Hear me clearly today. Your story has not been delayed by accident. Your life has not fallen behind schedule. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not stuck. You are being guided by a God who sees the end from the beginning. And now, after all the waiting, after all the preparation, after all the lessons and growth, something is beginning to change. Because the same God who closed certain doors is now preparing to open others. And what is coming next will help you understand why the waiting was necessary. Because there was a battle taking place that you could not see. A battle that explains why the pressure became so intense. A battle that reveals why the enemy fought so hard to discourage you. And that is what I want to show you now. My beloved child, there is something the enemy never wanted you to discover. He never feared your past. He never feared your mistakes. He never feared your weaknesses. What he feared most was the person you were becoming. That is why the attacks came. That is why the pressure intensified. That is why the discouragement seemed relentless. You thought the battle was proof that something was wrong with you. But what if the battle was actually proof that something was right? What if the resistance you experienced was evidence that your life carried a purpose greater than you realized? The enemy does not waste his energy attacking what poses no threat. He attacks what carries potential. He targets what carries purpose. He fights hardest against those who are closest to discovering who they truly are. And my child, whether you realized it or not, there was something inside you that he could see long before you could. He saw the faith that would survive the storm. He saw the testimony that would emerge from the pain. He saw the strength being developed through every difficult season. He saw the future I had prepared for you, and it terrified him. That is why he whispered lies into your mind. That is why he tried to fill your heart with fear. That is why he worked so hard to convince you that you were forgotten. Because if he could not stop my plan, he would try to stop your belief in my plan. If he could not destroy your purpose, he would try to discourage you from pursuing it. If he could not remove my calling from your life, he would try to make you doubt it. Think about the battles you have faced. How many times did fear appear right before an important breakthrough? How many times did discouragement arrive just as hope was beginning to rise? How many times did confusion increase when clarity was close? These things were not random. There was a reason. The enemy could sense movement even when you could not. He could see heaven preparing what your natural eyes could not yet see. And because he could not stop what I was building, he tried to exhaust you before it arrived. My beloved child, some of your greatest battles happened in your mind. The enemy knew that if he could control your thoughts, he could influence your decisions. So he filled your mind with questions. What if nothing changes? What if you fail? What if God has forgotten you? What if this waiting never ends? Day after day he repeated those lies, hoping that eventually you would believe them. But you are still here. You are still listening. You are still seeking me. And that alone is evidence that he failed. The fact that you continue to move forward despite everything you have endured is proof that my hand has been upon you. You should have given up. But you didn't. You should have broken completely. But you didn't. You should have lost hope. But somehow, even through tears, even through disappointment, even through uncertainty, you kept believing. That was not an accident. That was my spirit sustaining you. There were moments when you thought you had reached your limit. Moments when you felt too tired to continue. Moments when you wondered whether anything would ever improve. Yet every time you were about to surrender, I strengthened you. Every time darkness tried to overwhelm you, I carried you. Every time fear tried to take control, I reminded your spirit that you were not alone. The enemy wanted your focus fixed on the battle, but I wanted your focus fixed on the victory, because the battle was never the final chapter. The struggle was never the destination. The pain was never the conclusion of your story. My child, hear me carefully. The enemy attacked what he feared most. He attacked your faith because he feared your future. He attacked your confidence because he feared your calling. He attacked your peace because he feared your breakthrough. He attacked your hope because he feared what would happen if you refused to quit. And now the very thing he tried to stop is beginning to emerge. The strength he tried to destroy has grown stronger. The faith he tried to break has become deeper. The person he tried to discourage is still standing. You may not see the full picture yet. You may not understand everything that has happened. But soon you will realize that every attack revealed something important. It revealed that your future carries more significance than you ever imagined. And while the enemy was fighting against your purpose, heaven was quietly preparing your next season. Even now, things are being aligned. Even now, doors are being positioned. Even now, circumstances are beginning to shift. Because while the enemy was focused on attacking you, I was focused on preparing what comes next. And what I have been preparing behind the scenes is far greater than anything you have lost. My beloved child, one of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that nothing is happening simply because they cannot see it. You have looked at your circumstances and concluded that heaven was silent. You have looked at your waiting season and assumed that heaven was inactive. You have looked at the delays, the disappointments, and the unanswered questions and wondered if anything was changing at all. But I tell you today, heaven has never stopped working, not for a single moment. Even when you saw no movement, even when you heard no answers, even when every day looked exactly the same, I was working in secret. There are things happening beyond your sight that your natural eyes cannot yet perceive. There are conversations taking place that you know nothing about. There are doors being prepared that you have not yet discovered. There are people being positioned who will soon become part of your story, and there are blessings already moving toward you even now. My child, you often judge progress by visible results. You want to see immediate change. You want instant confirmation. You want proof that something is happening. But my greatest works often begin where human eyes cannot see. A seed beneath the soil appears inactive, yet beneath the surface, life is forming. Roots are spreading. Growth is taking place. Preparation is happening. And one day what was hidden suddenly becomes visible. The same is true in your life. What appears silent is often sacred. What appears delayed is often developing. What appears hidden is often being prepared. There were moments when you thought I was doing nothing, but while you were waiting, I was arranging. While you were praying, I was positioning. While you were wondering, I was building. You have asked me many times, Lord, why did this take so long? The answer is simple. Because there were details that needed to be aligned. There were lessons that needed to be learned. There were wounds that needed healing. There were pieces of your story that needed to come together at exactly the right moment. My beloved child, timing matters. A blessing released too early can become a burden. A door opened before preparation can become a disaster. That is why I do not simply answer prayers according to desire. I answer according to wisdom. I see what you cannot see. I know what you do not know. I understand what is coming long before it arrives. And because I love you, I prepare the way carefully. Even now there are things being aligned in your favor. What feels random is not random. What feels delayed is not delayed. What feels uncertain is not uncertain to me. Heaven is precise. Heaven is intentional. Heaven does not waste seasons. Every day you spent waiting has served a purpose. Every lesson mattered. Every disappointment taught something valuable. Every challenge strengthened something within you. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing has been meaningless. Nothing has escaped my control. My child, I want you to stop measuring your future by your current circumstances. Stop assuming that today's struggle determines tomorrow's outcome. Stop believing that because you cannot see movement, movement does not exist. There are breakthroughs forming beyond your sight. There are answers moving through channels you cannot yet recognize. There are opportunities being prepared behind doors you have not yet approached. There are miracles developing beneath the surface of your current reality. And when the appointed moment arrives, what seemed sudden will actually be the result of everything I have been doing in secret. Others may call it luck. Others may call it coincidence. Others may wonder how everything changed so quickly. But you will know the truth. You will know that heaven had been working long before the breakthrough appeared. You will know that I was moving long before the answer arrived. You will know that every delay carried purpose. Every waiting season carried preparation. And every difficult chapter was leading to something greater. So do not lose heart now. Do not become discouraged at the edge of your breakthrough. Do not allow frustration to steal your faith, because the things I have been preparing in secret are closer than you realize. The pieces are coming together. The alignment is taking place. The season is shifting, and soon you will begin to see with your natural eyes what heaven has been building all along. But before that happens, there is something you must understand. The shift has already begun. The first signs are already appearing, and if you pay attention, you will start to recognize them. My beloved child, if you are still here listening to these words, I do not believe it is by accident. Many people would have clicked away by now. Many would have allowed distractions to steal this moment. But you stayed, and perhaps that is because something deep within your spirit recognizes that I am speaking directly to you. Before we continue, I want you to make a simple declaration of faith. Write in the comments, Lord, I trust your timing. Not because everything makes sense yet. Not because you have all the answers, but because you are choosing to trust me even while the story is still unfolding. And if these messages encourage your heart, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs hope today. Now stay with me, because what I am about to reveal next may explain why the shift you have been praying for has already begun. My beloved child, listen carefully to me now. The shift you have been praying for is not merely coming. It has already begun. I know there are moments when you look around and wonder where the evidence is. You examine your circumstances and see problems that still need answers. You look at your situation and ask, Lord, if things are changing, why does everything still look the same? Because the greatest changes often begin before they become visible. The shift always starts in the unseen before it appears in the seen. Long before a sunrise breaks across the horizon, the darkness begins to lose its hold. Long before a seed emerges from the ground, life is already growing beneath the soil. Long before a breakthrough becomes visible, heaven has already set it in motion. And that is exactly what is happening now. You have been expecting one dramatic moment, one sudden sign, one unmistakable event. But I tell you, the shift often begins with small things. A new peace where fear once lived, a new strength where weakness once ruled, a new hope where discouragement once dominated. These are not accidents. These are signs. These are reminders that my spirit is already moving within you. Have you noticed how certain things no longer affect you the way they once did? Have you noticed how some fears are losing their power? Have you noticed how certain burdens are becoming lighter? That is not your imagination. That is transformation. That is evidence that the season is changing. My child, there are also people I am moving out of your life, not because I want you to be lonely, not because I desire separation, but because not everyone assigned to your past can accompany you into your future. Some people were part of a chapter. They were never meant to become the entire story. And while you mourn what is leaving, I am preparing what is arriving. Trust me in this process. Trust me when relationships change. Trust me when certain doors close. Trust me when familiar things begin to shift, because I am making room for what belongs in your next season. The enemy wants you to focus on what is disappearing. I want you to focus on what is developing. The enemy wants you to mourn what was lost. I want you to anticipate what is being prepared, for even now opportunities are approaching, answers are approaching, divine connections are approaching, breakthroughs are approaching. What feels like an ending may actually be a beginning. What feels like loss may actually be preparation. What feels like uncertainty may actually be divine alignment. My beloved child, do not overlook the small signs. Celebrate them. When peace replaces anxiety, celebrate. When strength replaces exhaustion, celebrate. When hope returns after a long season of discouragement, celebrate. These are not insignificant moments. They are the first signs of a greater work unfolding. They are the early evidence that heaven is moving. Too many people miss their breakthrough because they are waiting for something dramatic while ignoring the miracles already happening around them. Do not make that mistake. Pay attention. Stay alert. Keep your heart open. For I am revealing my faithfulness one step at a time. And as these small signs continue to multiply, your confidence will grow. Your faith will strengthen. Your vision will become clearer. You will begin to recognize that the shift is not something far away in the future. It is happening now, even in this moment, even as you listen, even as you wonder what comes next. But there is something I need to warn you about. Whenever a new season begins, there is a temptation that follows. A temptation that has prevented many people from stepping fully into what I prepared for them. A temptation to return to what is familiar. A temptation to go back to old patterns, old fears, old ways of thinking. And if you are not careful, it can delay what I am trying to do in your life. That is why what I am about to tell you next is so important. Because the season ahead cannot be entered with the mindset of the season behind you. And that is why you must not return to who you used to be. My beloved child, now that the shift has begun, there is something you must understand. The greatest danger is no longer the battle behind you. The greatest danger is returning to it. Many people pray for a new season. They ask me for healing. They ask me for restoration. They ask me for breakthrough. But when the new season arrives, they continue thinking like the person they used to be. They continue speaking like the person they used to be. They continue living from the fears, wounds, and limitations of the past. And because of that, they struggle to fully receive what I am trying to give them. My child, you cannot step into a new future while clinging to an old identity. You cannot walk forward while constantly looking backward. You cannot embrace what I am doing next if you keep returning to what I already delivered you from. For too long, you have allowed certain voices to define you. Voices of rejection, voices of failure, voices of disappointment, voices that constantly reminded you of what went wrong. You began to see yourself through the lens of your pain instead of through the lens of my promises. You started believing that your setbacks defined you. You started believing that your mistakes defined you. You started believing that your wounds defined you. But that was never my truth about you. The pain was part of your journey. It was never your identity. The struggle was part of your story. It was never your destiny. My beloved child, some of the chains I am breaking are not around your circumstances. They are around your thinking. Because before I can change what is around you, I often need to transform what is within you. The enemy understands this. That is why he constantly tries to pull your thoughts back toward fear, back toward insecurity, back toward discouragement, back toward the mindset that kept you trapped. He wants you to believe that nothing has changed. He wants you to keep expecting failure. He wants you to keep preparing for disappointment. He wants you to keep living as though your breakthrough will never arrive. But I am calling you higher. I am calling you to see yourself differently, not through the eyes of your past, but through the eyes of your Creator. You are not the person who barely survived yesterday. You are becoming the person I prepared for tomorrow. You are stronger than you realize, wiser than you realize, more prepared than you realize. Every battle taught you something. Every disappointment developed something. Every waiting season strengthened something. Do not dishonor your growth by pretending it never happened. Look at how far I have already brought you. Look at the things that once controlled you but no longer do. Look at the fears you have overcome. Look at the storms you survived. You are not where you used to be, and you must stop talking about yourself as though you are. My child, there will be moments in the days ahead when the familiar tries to call you back. Old habits, old fears, old relationships, old patterns of thinking. They will feel comfortable because they are familiar. But familiar does not always mean beneficial. Some things feel comfortable simply because you lived with them for so long. Yet comfort can become a prison when it prevents growth. Do not return to the mindset that says you are forgotten. Do not return to the mindset that says nothing will ever change. Do not return to the mindset that expects disappointment before you even see the outcome. I am teaching you to expect my faithfulness. I am teaching you to walk by faith instead of fear. I am teaching you to believe my promises even before you see the evidence. Because the person who enters the next season cannot be the same person who entered the last storm. The waiting changed you. The battle changed you. The process changed you. And now it is time to move forward as the person you have become. My beloved child, hear me carefully. Do not go back to the place where fear ruled your heart. Do not go back to the place where hopelessness controlled your thoughts. Do not go back to the place where you constantly doubted my presence. You have come too far. You have survived too much. You have grown too much. The season behind you taught its lessons. Now it is time to leave it behind. Because what I am preparing for you requires confidence. It requires faith. It requires a heart that is willing to believe again. And what I am about to release into your life cannot be fully received by the person you used to be. That is why I am calling you forward. Forward into greater faith. Forward into greater peace. Forward into greater purpose. For the next season is closer than you think. And what I have prepared for you is greater than anything you are leaving behind. My beloved child, after everything you have endured, after every lesson learned, every tear shed, every battle fought, I want you to lift your eyes beyond the present moment. For too long your attention has been focused on what was lost. Too long you have measured your future by your current circumstances. Too long you have allowed yesterday's disappointments to shape tomorrow's expectations. But now, I am calling you to look ahead. Because what I am about to release into your life is greater than what you have been leaving behind. I know there were moments when you wondered if restoration would ever come. Moments when it felt as though too much had been lost. Too much time. Too many opportunities. Too many relationships. Too many dreams. You looked at the broken pieces and wondered how anything beautiful could emerge from them. But remember this, my child. I am the God of restoration. I do not merely replace what was lost. I redeem it. I use it. I weave it into something greater than you could have imagined. The years that seemed wasted were not wasted. The tears that seemed forgotten were not forgotten. The prayers that seemed unanswered were not unanswered. Everything has been collected in my hands, and I am able to bring beauty from places where you only saw brokenness. My child, one of the first things I am releasing into your life is healing. Not merely healing for your circumstances, but healing for your heart. There are wounds you carried for so long that they began to feel normal. Disappointments that became part of your identity. Hurts that quietly shaped how you saw yourself and others. But I am touching those places now. The places nobody else can see. The places you rarely talk about. The places where fear, rejection, and disappointment tried to leave permanent scars. I am healing what the enemy hoped would remain broken. I am restoring what pain tried to steal. I am renewing what weariness tried to destroy. And as healing comes, something else follows. Peace. Not the fragile peace that depends on perfect circumstances. Not the temporary peace that disappears when challenges arise. But my peace. A peace that remains steady in the middle of uncertainty. A peace that guards your heart when fear attempts to return. A peace that reminds you that I am still in control. My beloved child, I am also preparing new opportunities. Opportunities you cannot yet see. Doors you have not yet discovered. Connections you have not yet made. Conversations that have not yet happened. You may think your future depends on your own ability to create solutions, but I am already working through people, places, and situations beyond your awareness. One conversation can change a season. One opportunity can redirect a future. One open door can accomplish what years of striving could not. That is why I tell you not to lose hope, not to grow weary, not to stop believing, because what I am preparing is already moving toward you. I am also releasing favor, not because you earned it, not because you deserve it more than others, but because I am faithful to complete what I began in you. There will be moments when doors open unexpectedly, moments when help arrives from unexpected places, moments when things begin falling into place in ways you cannot explain. Do not call it luck. Do not call it coincidence. Recognize my hand. Recognize my faithfulness. Recognize that I have been working behind the scenes all along. My child, perhaps the greatest thing I am releasing is renewed purpose. The enemy wanted you distracted. He wanted you discouraged. He wanted you focused only on survival. But I created you for more than survival. I created you with purpose. I created you with assignments that only you can fulfill. I created you to shine light in places where darkness once ruled. And now, as this new season unfolds, that purpose is becoming clearer. You will begin to see why certain doors closed. You will begin to understand why certain delays happened. You will begin to recognize how I was guiding you even when you felt lost. The pieces will start connecting. The story will start making sense. And your faith will grow stronger than ever before. So do not be afraid of what lies ahead. Do not fear the unknown. Do not let uncertainty steal your anticipation. For what I am releasing is not punishment. It is not loss. It is not disappointment. It is healing. It is restoration. It is favor. It is purpose. And it is closer than you think. In fact, some of it has already begun. And soon, you will look back on this season and realize that what seemed like an ending was actually the beginning of one of the greatest chapters of your life. But before that chapter fully unfolds, there is one final truth I need you to understand. The pain you endured was never meaningless. The tears you cried were never wasted. And the day you thought would break you may become the very day you testify of my goodness. My beloved child, I know there were days you never want to relive. Days when the pain felt unbearable. Days when disappointment seemed stronger than hope. Days when you cried in silence because you did not have the strength to explain what was happening inside your heart. You remember those moments. You remember the nights when you questioned everything. The mornings when getting out of bed felt like a battle. The seasons when nothing seemed to change no matter how hard you prayed. At the time, all you could see was the pain. All you could feel was the struggle. All you could understand was the disappointment. But I want you to see those moments through a different lens today. What if the day you cried becomes the day you testify? What if the season that nearly broke you becomes the very season that reveals my faithfulness? My child, testimonies are not born from comfort. They are born from overcoming. They are born from surviving what was meant to destroy you. They are born from watching me carry you through circumstances you never thought you could endure. One day, you will tell the story. You will tell others about the season when you felt abandoned, yet I never left. You will tell others about the doors that closed, only to discover I had something better waiting. You will tell others about the prayers that seemed unanswered until the perfect moment arrived. And as you speak, people will see my faithfulness written throughout every chapter of your journey. The scars you carry are not signs of defeat. They are evidence of survival. They are reminders that the storm came, yet you remain standing. They are proof that the enemy tried to stop you but could not. They are proof that my grace sustained you when your own strength was gone. My beloved child, do not despise your story. Do not be ashamed of the chapters that were difficult. Do not wish away every painful memory, for even those moments have become part of the testimony I am building within your life. The tears taught you compassion. The waiting taught you patience. The battles taught you faith. The disappointments taught you dependence upon me, and together they formed a strength that could not have been developed any other way. You are not the same person you were when the journey began. You see differently. You pray differently. You trust differently. You have learned that my presence is not dependent on your circumstances. You have learned that my faithfulness does not disappear during difficult seasons. You have learned that even when you cannot trace my hand, you can trust my heart, and that lesson alone is priceless. My child, there are people you have not met yet who will one day need your story. They will need to hear how you survived. They will need to hear how you endured. They will need to hear how I carried you through seasons that seemed impossible. What you are overcoming today may become someone else's hope tomorrow. What you are surviving today may become someone else's encouragement later. Nothing is wasted in my hands. Not the tears, not the delays, not the disappointments, not even the darkest chapters. I redeem them all. I use them all. I weave them all into a story that reflects my goodness and my faithfulness. So lift your head, my beloved child. The day you cried is not the end of your story. The day you cried may become the day you testify. The season that wounded you may become the season that strengthened you. And the chapter you once wanted to forget may become the chapter that proves I was with you all along. For you were never abandoned. You were never forgotten. And as you look back one day, you will see that every step of the journey was leading you toward the purpose I had prepared from the very beginning. My beloved child, as this message comes to a close, I want you to hold on to one truth above all others. You were never forgotten, not for a single day, not for a single moment, not during the nights when you cried yourself to sleep, not during the seasons when nothing seemed to change, not during the moments when you questioned whether I was still listening. I was there. I was always there. Even when you could not feel my presence, I was beside you. Even when you could not understand my plan, I was guiding your steps. Even when you believed you were standing alone, I was carrying you through every battle. My child, so much of your pain came from believing that silence meant absence. You thought that because you could not see me moving, I was doing nothing. You thought that because the answer had not arrived yet, I had forgotten your prayer. But now you can see a greater truth. The silence was never abandonment. The waiting was never punishment. The delay was never rejection. I was working through every moment. I was protecting you when you could not see the danger. I was strengthening you when you felt weak. I was preparing you for blessings that required growth before they could be received. Nothing about your journey has been random. Every closed door, every unexpected detour, every difficult lesson, every tear, every prayer, every battle. I have woven them together into a story that is still unfolding. And one day you will see how perfectly I was working all things together for your good. My beloved child, do not allow your past disappointments to define your future expectations. Do not allow yesterday's pain to convince you that tomorrow holds nothing better. The same God who carried you through every difficult season is the same God who stands before you now. I am not finished with your story. I am not finished with your healing. I am not finished with your restoration. I am not finished with your purpose. There are still chapters to be written. There are still blessings to be revealed. There are still prayers to be answered. There are still miracles you have not yet seen. Lift your eyes beyond what is happening today. Look beyond the present struggle. Look beyond the temporary uncertainty. For I am already standing in the future you worry about. I am already preparing the answers you seek. I am already making a way where you see no way. My child, if you remember nothing else from this message, remember this. You were never abandoned. You were never overlooked. You were never forgotten. I saw every tear. I heard every prayer. I carried every burden, and I remained faithful through it all. The season is changing. The shift has begun. The story is not over. And what I have prepared for you is greater than anything you have left behind. So walk forward with faith. Walk forward with courage. Walk forward knowing that I am with you. For I have always been with you, and I always will be. My beloved child, before you leave, I want you to make a declaration of faith, not because I need to hear it, but because sometimes your spirit needs to speak what your heart believes. If this message spoke to you today, write these words in the comments. I receive God's plan for my life. Let that be your declaration. Let it be your reminder that you are no longer walking by fear. You are walking by faith. You are choosing to trust that every prayer has been heard. You are choosing to believe that every delay had a purpose. You are choosing to stand on the promise that God has not forgotten you. And if this message encouraged your heart, take a moment to share it with someone who may be carrying a burden today. Someone who needs hope. Someone who needs encouragement. Someone who needs to be reminded that God is still working behind the scenes. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more daily messages of faith and encouragement. Remember, my beloved child, your season is changing. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. And the God who carried you through every battle is still holding your hand today. Walk forward in faith. Walk forward in peace. Walk forward knowing that you are loved, chosen, and never forgotten. Amen.